subscribers. Welcome to Chalk Talk episode 6. We're going to be talking about the seedling stage. If you go back, we broke down everything from doing research to getting your seed started, what type of genetics you run, getting your environment on point, what equipment do you need. So we're running through the whole grow process step by step. I just wanted new growers to be able to physically see maybe what we're after as growers, and I don't want to discourage them from getting to growing because it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of research, there is a lot of new technology and science coming out, so I just wanted to show you what's worked in my garden. It's not necessarily the perfect way or the right way, but it's what's worked for me. I've been gardening for coming up on 3 years, if you haven't known that, and this was my idea, trying to help you guys skip some steps, because I didn't skip steps. I spent more money than I needed to. I had more fails than I wanted to, and I wanted you guys to be able to have an easier process into the growing and maybe, surpass growers and just get the medicine that you need. So what we're doing here, talking about our seedling stage. So we got our germination, we planted our seeds into our soil, we did our squeeze test. And our squeeze test was we added all the soil that we needed to fill all of our cups, and we added moisture to it and gave it that squeeze test to where we just got 1 or 2 drips down your knuckles. That way you know you have perfect moisture. And then you would put that into your cups or your solo cups or your bud cups. And then you could feel that as weight to know what perfect moisture is going to feel like as you go through that seedling stage. Or you could even weigh it like we talked about, just to be exact. That way you're weighing something at perfect moisture. You can weigh it again and you know if you need a little bit more or if it's retaining that moisture. So when seedlings are young, they are very temperamental. Things can go south really quick. They can dampen off. If your environment's not good, if you're overwatering, if you're underwatering, they're very picky because they're so young. So these are kind of some of the points that I would like to talk about when you're in the seedling stage. Let's stay at these temps here, 75 to 80 degrees. You can go outside of these temperatures. Once again, this is just what I've used and had very good success getting my seedlings healthy and happy and into that next, to your final pot. We're also going to rock the 70 to 80% humidity with that. And you can see down here, I got the VPD chart. You might not be able to see individual numbers, but you can see that wave of green and orange and red. And that green is what your ideal VPD is going to be. So certain temperatures are going to work with different humidities to get that VPD, that vapor pressure deficit. Now in seedlings, you can write a 0.6 to 1.0, and actually after you check out the chart, you're going to know what the decimal points mean, so don't let me confuse you with that. It's just a simple calculation that they already do for you, and it's got a chart that shows you, okay, temperature's here, humidity's here, what is my correct VPD for a certain stage. You can venture outside these numbers. I like to stick in the 0.7 to 0.8 range if I can, if possible, but you can go outside here and you're going to have no problem at all. If you're having trouble getting humidity, you can put a dome over the top of this. That's going to retain that moisture, and that's going to give the cotyledons and the stomata something to use to suck in that moisture, because the roots are so small right now that they're not drinking a bunch of it. So we want to make sure not to overwater, and that's how we get that high humidity so that water can retain longer. If you stick to the VPD, it doesn't matter your temperature and humidity. If you can get only 72 degrees Fahrenheit, rock that humidity to get that correct VPD in this zone. So check out this chart. It might be a little small for you to see, but go over there to Pulse Grow. Just search VPD Pulse or Pulse VPD chart, and it's going to show you. It's the best chart out there right now. And there's a lot of similar ones. They don't necessarily have to be Pulse. It's just what I use, and there's a lot of good, reputable people that back that chart. So, excuse me. So we did our squeeze test. We got a perfect moisture. You're going to see this slowly pop up, and you might have that seed hull still on there. And if that happens, you can just moisten it and kind of wiggle it off with tweezers. Don't mess with it too much, because like I said, these are very, very temperamental. Things can go south quick. So if you do get helmet head, is what we call it, with that seed hull still on there and your cotyledons, these first 2 leaves here can't open up. So you can spray it, mist it, like I said, it's going to soften that shell up, and then you can pick it off there. But if you plant that soil, half a knuckle deep, and you don't compact it, you just got enough in there to pull that seed hull off, I don't think you're going to have any issues. And once that pops up, now you're going to want to make sure that your moisture's staying on point. So like I talked about, weigh your cups or feel that weight so you know that you need to water. If you have higher humidity, when you first plant that seed, you can probably go 2 to 3 days without even watering it, because we had that perfect moisture. Just mist it a little bit on top. Don't go overboard. like I said, depend on that weight at this point. You'll get comfortable with it, and you'll be able to know and look and see, you know, how the plant looks or how your soil's looking, because you don't want to necessarily be in there digging around with that young seedling. So you want to go off that weight. That's just something that I've used. So as this grows up, it's going to start growing 3-bladed leaves. It's going to go to 5 blades, 7 blades, 9 blades, 11 blades, depending on the health of your plant. So I just wanted to fast forward a little bit. So we're still in seedling here. There's a lot of arguments on the internet what is determined as when it goes from seedling to vegetation stage. There's many ways to look at it. I like to use the explosion of growth. When you can come back day in and day out and you see growth happening and you got 3, 5, 7 blade leaves, you're in veg now. There's a lot that say when you get your first 3-bladed leaves, you're in veg. Some say 5. Like I said, there's so many ways to look at it. I don't think that really matters, because you really want to keep that good VPD, seedling VPD, even in the beginning of veg. It's not going to hurt anything. That higher humidity, that comfortable heat for it, let it be comfortable. You don't have to worry about getting the exact VPD from seedling to veg in such a quick stage. We want to slowly change everything. Just like when you wake up in the morning, it's a little cooler, there's a little breeze, the sun's not out, so it's slowly climbing to that temperature, slowly climbing to that humidity, and that's all we're after here. So they're going to start to grow up. You're going to get 3 blades, 5 blades, like I talked about. So once they get old enough and you consider yourself maybe not in veg, but you got 5-bladed leaves, or even maybe 3-bladed leaves, you want to see a healthy plant. You want a couple growths off here before you start doing any training. Now, when you're in this stage, you don't want to do any high stress training. We'll get into that later. We want to stick to this LST, which is your low stress training. That can be using these bud clips. Check those out. There's bud clips that's just a clip that'll clip on right here, and it's going to give you that perfect 90-degree angle. And the idea is to pull this top head lower than these, so these are going to start to shoot up, and these are going to start becoming your main head. This is going to try to curl on you too, and we're maintaining that. So we'll just keep pulling stuff out and keeping that apex this early on. You can also use ties, and you'll just don't use like wire or anything like that. They have bud trainers got really good just rubber or zip ties or anything like that. You don't want to hurt your plant. You want something rubbery. I feel like zip ties may not be the best choice, but I have used them before. They do work. But all you're going to do there is then take that, hook it onto there, and pull it to the side of your pot. So that's not an ideal drawing, because we wanted to be able to hook that into the pot. But I don't use tie-offs anymore. I use these bud clips. They're really handy. You put them on there until you get to where you want, and then once they grow up, you can pull these bud clips off. I didn't talk about the bud cups, which is what I use. That's a really cool method to, other than the solo cups. So when you plant, you put the dirt in there and you're growing the seedling up, you can't see the roots until they're popping out on the bottom, and that's usually when you're going to want to start to transplant. But with these bottoms are removable, so you can push up on the bottom and kind of peek at your roots and see where you're at, because new growers and even all growers are very anxious to see how fast we're going. Are we ready to transplant? You know, we don't want to get root bound into our cup. Root bound just means that that root starts tying around that cup, and it needs to go out, so it's starting to get unhappy. You can't keep up with the watering. The nutrition's going to have to scale up. So keep an eye on that. Another good way to know that your plant's getting healthy and you're getting into the transplant stage, if you are going to transplant. Some people plant right into their final pot, which is no problem with that. This is just, I'm showing you from going from that small solo cup to the next stage. So training is very crucial. It's going to be able to take your yields to a whole new level, and you can do it with just this low stress, staying healthy training. Like I said, the bud cups are very good so you can see your roots. If your plant starts to get outside of your container, your smaller cup, that's a pretty good sign that you're going to be ready to transplant. And even if you don't have roots popping out, when it gets on the outside of your cup, like I said, it's bigger than your container, which I always stress to stay the same size as your container, you're going to be ready to transplant. They're going to need more water, more nutrition, more than you can probably keep up on. So that's the seedling stage. It's a very simple stage. We're going to start easing into veg. We'll start talking more training methods. We'll talk scrogging, the sea of green. There's so many good training methods out there. I just wanted to get you guys, we got the seeds in the dirt. We wanted to keep this VPD on point, which is very, very crucial. Your environment, like we talked about, your environment is everything. Get your light on point. So your PPFD is roughly about 200 to 300. PPFD. That's what I like to ride. You can ride a little bit less of a VPD, or you can ride a little bit higher, just depending how hard you want to push your plants, how much humidity you have in there. Are you staying on your VPD? Because your VPD is off and you're pushing high PPFD, your plant's going to stress. So keep it lower at this point. Keep it in that 200 range. I think it's just going to be better. You're not trying to explode this plant really quick. You just want to kind of ease into it, keep the health on point until you can get transplanted into your final home. And that's the goal here, keeping it healthy, keeping these temperatures and humidity on point. If you can do that and you keep this PPFD, you're doing your lifting test, you're putting it on a scale, getting to know the feeling of the pot with good moisture in it, you're going to crush this stage. You're going to be transplanting, vegging, flowering before you even know it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Thanks so much, Gromies. We'll be getting into more stuff in veg like I talked about. This is the seedling stage. Very, very good steps to follow. I've learned this from all the great guys out there. This is not my information. This is just something that I've used that has worked for me in my garden. And I didn't cover that, but I use Build a Soil Light as my first planting soil. It's a very balanced soil. It's not fully inert. It's got some nutrition in there, but it's nothing to the point where it's going to burn your seeds. It's just going to glide along, give it enough nutrition to where it's growing outside that pot, and then it's going to start needing food. So it's a good recipe to use when you're planting your seedlings. I really like it. The 3.0 is a little hot. There's a lot of biology in there that could cause problems. As you've seen in my seedsman bed, we had some hypospecies miles that took over that bed, and don't get laxatilism on IPM. So thanks so much for following along, Gromies. Stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to be getting into veg. We're going to be getting big old canopies, flowering before you know it. Thanks so much. Much love, and have a great night.